The auction stopped in the middle of the bidding. Not because someone offered more money, because a voice from the front row echoed through the entire hall. "That pendant is my son's." Every head turned. The billionaire stood frozen beside his seat. His hand trembled as he pointed toward a young woman standing near the display stage. Around her neck hung a small silver pendant. Simple. Old. Worn by time. Nothing about it looked expensive. Yet one glance had completely changed the room. The auctioneer cleared his throat. "Sir, are you saying the pendant belongs to your family?" The billionaire didn't answer immediately. His eyes never left the necklace. Then he quietly said, "I bought the pendant 26 years ago." Silence. The young woman instinctively touched it. She looked confused. "I'm sorry. This has belonged to me for as long as I can remember." The billionaire slowly walked closer. Security stepped forward. He raised one hand. "No." His voice remained calm. "I just want to ask one question." He looked at the pendant. "Can I see the back?" The woman hesitated, then carefully removed the necklace. She handed it over. He turned it over. His breathing changed. Tiny scratches covered the silver surface. Hidden beneath years of wear were 3 engraved letters. L-E-O. His eyes filled with tears. He whispered, "I engraved those myself." Nobody moved. 25 years earlier, his 3-year-old son disappeared during a crowded charity festival. Thousands searched. Police, volunteers, helicopters. Nothing. Weeks became months. Months became years. The case slowly turned cold. The only thing investigators never found was the silver pendant his son wore every day. The billionaire never stopped looking. He funded search programs, private investigators, DNA databases, age progression specialists. Nothing. Eventually the world moved on. He never did. Now, that same pendant stood only a few feet away. The young woman looked overwhelmed. "I don't understand." Neither did he. He gently handed the necklace back. Then quietly asked, "Who gave it to you?" She thought for a moment. "My grandmother. Your biological grandmother." She hesitated. "I don't know." The room became silent. She explained, she had been adopted as a baby. Her adoptive grandmother raised her after her parents passed away. The pendant came with her. No explanation, just one request. Never lose it. The billionaire listened carefully. Then asked, "Do you know where you were born?" She shook her head. "The records are incomplete." Reporters lowered their cameras. Nobody wanted to interrupt. The billionaire looked toward his attorney. Then quietly said, "Call the family archive." Hours later, old adoption records arrived. Incomplete. Damaged. But one detail remained. A handwritten note. Child found alone near Riverside County. Estimated age, 3. The billionaire closed his eyes. His son had disappeared only 40 miles away. The timing matched. The age matched. The pendant matched. But matching wasn't proof. The young woman looked nervous. "What happens now?" He smiled gently. "Now, pause. We find the truth." Days later, DNA testing began. Neither of them spoke publicly. News channels speculated endlessly. Experts debated possibilities. Social media exploded with theories. But both waited quietly. 10 days later, the laboratory called. The billionaire arrived first. The young woman arrived minutes later. Neither could look at the envelope. The genetic specialist entered, placed one document on the table, then smiled softly. "The results are conclusive." Silence. "You are biologically related." The billionaire covered his face. The young woman couldn't move. Years of questions suddenly had answers. She whispered, "So." He looked at her. "My son." She smiled through tears. "I've been your daughter all this time." They both laughed at the mistake, then cried even harder. The specialist smiled. "Actually." Everyone looked up. He continued, "The records from 25 years ago contained one major error." He opened another file. "The missing child wasn't your son." The billionaire frowned. "What?" The specialist continued. The hospital accidentally recorded the wrong gender after the child was found. Silence. You lost a child. He looked at the young woman. But your child was your daughter. Neither of them spoke. The billionaire slowly walked toward her, then quietly asked, "May I?" She nodded. He hugged her. Neither wanted to let go. Weeks later, they visited the old cemetery where his late wife rested. He placed fresh flowers beside her headstone, then quietly whispered, "I found her." The young woman stood beside him holding the same silver pendant. She asked softly, "Do you think Mom knew?" He smiled sadly. "I think." Pause. She never stopped believing. Months later, they didn't try to replace lost years. They created new ones. Sunday dinners, birthdays, family photographs, simple conversations. One afternoon, a reporter asked the billionaire, "What was the most valuable thing you ever recovered?" He smiled. People expected him to mention companies, investments, art collections. Instead, he looked toward the silver pendant. Then answered, "It was never the necklace." He smiled toward his daughter. It was the life attached to it. Today, that small silver pendant rests inside a glass frame. Not because it's rare, not because it's valuable, but because sometimes, the smallest object carries the biggest miracle. Welcome to Peter Life Stories. Subscribe for more unforgettable stories.